GoCFB hat on check. Got a Bull Rush hoodie on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. On today's docket, we're going to play a blame game with Carson Beck. Sorry, guys, I know I haven't been here for a while. I was out in the woods. We went to the studio this past weekend and made a lot of music. A lot of you guys don't know music was my first love, still is my first love. Sports is right there. It's probably 1A and 1B, so we was working on that. So sorry I haven't been live in a little while, but make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel at Governor of College Football, because that's where the VODs are, and I still upload a lot over there, so sorry I haven't been live. But we're going to talk about the blame game with Carson Beck and Shannon Dawson, of course, by default is included in that, so we're going to talk about that a lot. I didn't like what I saw. I think you guys already know that if you've been watching this show for a while. Super angry about it. That's bad. We're also going to talk about Black Sunday 4.0. As you know, this past weekend, Hugh Freeze was fired, head coach of Auburn Tigers, former head coach of Auburn Tigers. And then also, Mike Shula, offensive coordinator at South Carolina, was fired as well. So we're going to talk about that, kind of give an instant reaction to it. Also, AP poll, top 25 reaction. I will be live over there with East Coast Gridiron. Shout out to my dog, Dante. We're doing their show, College Football Rush. I think they have an NFL Rush show and a College Football Show Rush. Of course, I'll be over there for the College Football Rush. Super excited about that. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find it over East Coast Grinding's YouTube. I think he did a collaboration, so it should appear on mine as well. And then also on their Twitter, my Twitter, you'll see everything. So every time he and I get to talk ball, it's going to be great editorial type college football talk. With two people who we do see the sport differently in some aspects, but I respect his mind, he respect my mind. So I think that's what's great about that. So that's tonight. Also, me and Moon are in development of a show, some type of nightly show on the CFB Nation channel. We was like, we need to get more content over there. So that's coming in infancy stage so far as it pertains to development, but we want a nightly show over there on the CFB Nation channel. Also going to do the Tulane versus Memphis preview. Great game on a Friday night. If you know me and you know some of the ideologies I have about college football, you already know who I have winning that game. And then also we got Clemson versus FSU, what I'm deeming the Fire Bowl. Last week it was the Auburn and Kentucky game. Granted, I did say that I didn't think Mark Stoops would be fired with the loss. I knew that Hugh Freeze would be fired if they lost this game. I'm going to kind of say that for Dabo. I think Dabo is safe from fire. He shouldn't be fired, at least in my opinion. I don't think Mike Norvell is as safe. Bad season last year. This season started off really well. They're struggling. They're in must-win territory, so I'm deeming that game the Fireball. Governor of College Football, hashtag GoCFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the Alrighty, so let's get into the news. So Coach Prime has been the talk of the town, since he entered Boulder. And this past two losses, both embarrassing losses, by the way. We did see a bright spot, if you're a Colorado fan, with Julian Lewis coming in there and throwing the touchdown that he threw in that game. But the last 2 weeks, it was limited to no access other than himself to coaches and players after losses. So I think most people in their mindset, like, hey, you're on a hot seat. Why are you doing these type of things? Like, you guys did go to a bowl game last year. Was embarrassed in that bowl game. Weren't bowl eligible your first year there. This was a must-win game if you wanted to make a bowl this season. I'm not sure they make a bowl, especially after their loss. But in the facet that they lost, I think a lot of people want answers. There should have been, I think, in the thoughts of many minds, and the people, whether it's media, the fan base, the boosters, donors, whoever you are, that there would be some slight regression this year. We always thought, each and every year you think that the Big 12 is open, because every year we seem to get a new team that comes out of nowhere that's competing like the way Cincinnati was competing until they got embarrassed by Utah this past weekend. So there was a slight arena for them to be successful this year. But when you are building your team, mostly through the portal, you're not building your team a lot through high school. Deion Sanders has yet to do an in-home visit with any recruits yet. That has always been a head scratcher. I've always been consistent with that. But I think the thing that people don't realize is his brand makes a lot of money for that program. So while we may be here to say, well, he needs to go, I don't think it's going to happen because the amount of notoriety that this program has gotten since he's got there. Has it resulted in wins? No, but what was Colorado doing before he got there? I think a lot of people also miss out on that, when we having this conversation as well. But, yeah, not allowing people to talk to the media. Like, you shouldn't be able to just say, oh, well, you guys aren't talking to the media. But it's cool if we win. If we don't win, you can't. No, bro. That's just not how it works in college football. Them people need to be able to sit up there on that podium, hold their own, and understand why they were lost. We got the clip this weekend with Carson Beck kind of throwing everybody under the bus except for himself. Took zero accountability, and we'll talk more a little bit about that later. To me, this was a little bit of a head-scratcher. I understand 2 embarrassing losses back-to-back. Your bowl eligibility chances kind of went out the window. You still have an opportunity. You just got to win out. But I think you had much better chances to be bowl eligible if you were able to win that game and get a little bit of momentum at least moving forward. That just didn't happen. So no media access. And the fact that they lost these games, or the fact that they lost these games, is just embarrassing. It's embarrassing to lose the way that you lose. What is that, 105-24 the last 2 weeks? That's terrible college football. Like, you're out here looking like an FCS team. But for the people that think that, as we do these Black Sundays, and I call Black Sundays in college football Black Sundays because I know somebody's getting fired. Once you get to a certain point in the season and the expectations versus reality for a lot of people just aren't real. It just isn't. Like Tennessee down in Knoxville, their expectations for the season weren't real at all. Nowhere near the realm of reality from my perspective, because if you looked at the roster, right, not a bad roster. They did send some people to the NFL. The handling of the Nico Iamaleava situation was a terrible handling, in my opinion, because if they knew that this guy was a problem, he was a problem when they, before their bowl matchup versus Ohio State, go ahead and get rid of them so you can get a guy that fits your system a little bit better than Joey Aguilar has been. In my opinion, because I'm not a Tennessee fan, because my expectations were probably more real than that fan and fanatic in Knoxville, I'm like, hey, to me, they're either at expectation or they're above expectation, because I didn't expect them to be playing this well this late. I think they've done an outstanding job. But for those who believe that Josh Heupel need to go, you're foolish. If you think that Alex Golesh is going to come there and do better, you're foolish. He's a disciple of Josh Heupel. Like, do you guys watch college football until you just skim through it? Like, what are we talking about here? You want to just fire him because everybody else firing their coaches in the SEC? Is that the way it works? I just think that's foolish, man. And I say the same thing for Colorado. This sport is all about college football, and the amount of us who love college football, it's all about those games that are played throughout the week and mostly on Saturdays. But also it's about some minutia and some politics stuff outside of the realm of the gridiron. I look at Deion Sanders. I look at what he's done for that program from a namesake, for him to be able, and those players able to put fans in those seats. I don't think he's going anywhere, to be honest. But he is going to have to change his approach from a myriad of perspectives. One, actually get out there and really hit the recruiting trail. I'm not saying it's nothing wrong building your team through the portal. We look at programs. Colorado should never let Sean Lewis go. 100%. Pat Shermer's struggling right now. He really is. I agree with that. And you see the success on the field with what San Diego State is doing right now under Sean Lewis. So I agree with that 100%. But this is what I will say. Deion Sanders has to put the work in. Go ahead, hit the recruiting trail. Go visit some of these visits. See what they're living like. See what type of house they come up in or they grew up in. The man at the top of the Mountain of the West now. Yes, he's 100% on top of the Mountain West. And Boise State, bro, what an egg they laid this past weekend. So when I look at Colorado, I look at Deion, I don't think he's going anywhere, only because he brings that program a lot of money. I think if he does leave, it'll be on his own accord, and he doesn't want to do it anymore. That's all I got to say about Colorado. So Lane Kiffin thanks Greg Sankey for primetime love. There's just certain figureheads and people that I really love in college football. Lane Kiffin is certainly one of those people. Just Jalen says Colorado just needs to find a better coach. Deion is not going to change. He thinks the portal is the way to go. No, the portal is the way to go when you have done the work via recruiting. Like the way that Ole Miss had added to their team last year, the way Texas Tech had added to their team. Joey McGuire still doesn't work. The way Ohio State has added to their team. So yes, if you think you're gonna build your team 100% via the portal, that's not how it works. If you have shuffling pieces year in and year out, the fact that he doesn't want to visit, that's weird to me. I want to see the type of environment that you're living in. Do you respect your parents, right? Did you all take the time to clean up before we came over here? Like, or that kid who comes from a broken home and you see how, the love and affection he had for his mom, and he want to make it just so his mom not living in these type of, habitats. Like, to me, that it matters. So, yes, I do think Colorado would be better off with somebody who's willing to do the work. But when you look at the boosters and donors and the fundraising that Deion is able to do as a brand, you're not going to get that. And that's what he was able to do. He was able to put fans in the seats. Colorado has struggled for a long time. I think it's been 2 years that out of the last, 17 or 18, I think the 2020 shortened season, and there was another season somewhere in there where they had some success. But as a program, they have really been struggling. So if they're going to go get somebody, who are some guys, and I respect both of your opinions, in Dante and Jalen, who's some guys that they can go get that can maybe not going to fundraise the way Deion can fundraise, but at least put the work in where he's not putting the work in. It's concerned that it's been the same problems with Colorado since first season. Agreed, 100%. But to block out your players from speaking with the media, in my opinion, is just crazy. You lose. But yeah, Lane Kiffin, thanks Greg Sankey for the primetime love. Loves the way that some of their games been scheduled as it pertains to traveling. Ole Miss is a really dangerous team. Y'all know some of our sayings over here. We are the one percenters, like no more victories and all of that stuff. I've never been more happy about a team in a loss than I was with Ole Miss. Heisman race is certainly heating up. Ty Simpson remains number one for now, but Julian Sayin is slowly climbing up the boards. How does everybody feel about Ohio State right now? Like, I think that Penn State game was closer than the game indicated, especially when you look at the first half of the game. But, how do you guys feel about Ohio State? What do you guys expect tonight when ESPN released their first college football playoff rankings? I'm interested to see that. To me, he needs to find someone good D2 coaches and put them in position of power and stop. Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. That's something that Moon was saying as well. We just had that conversation before I went live. Fernando Mendoza is 3 on the list. I think Fernando Mendoza is kind of a casualty of his own game. They start beating teams so badly, his brother gets in and get playing time. Marcel Reed certainly belongs on the list. Like to see him get those turnovers down. And Trinidad Shambliss is just putting Ole Miss on his back right now. I ain't mad at it at all. Haynes King is still up there in the running. Really disappointed in the outcome and the output by Georgia Tech this past weekend. Diego Pavia is still up there. Try to lead a really, really, really late comeback effort versus Texas. All for not, of course. But I'm not mad at this list right now. If I had a vote, to me, it's Ty Simpson or Fernando Mendoza. I'm not saying Julian Sayin isn't playing well. He's playing outstanding. But I have to see them against somebody else. I'm not sure who that team is. I just got to see him against somebody else. Dabo Swinney fined and reprimanded by the ACC. ACC got hit with a $10,000 fine for a public reprimand after blasting officials after game against Duke. One of the worst calls he said he ever seen on a pass interference call. You go out, you do your job, you handle business, you pay the defensive coordinator to come in there and write the strip. You got the players defensively on that. And the last 2 times we've seen you guys out there, we saw Kevin Jennings and company gas you, and then we seen Darian Minza and company gas you, bro. Play good defense. You got the guys that you wanted, right? Remember when Brandon Streeter was the offensive coordinator at Clemson? He was kind of the scapegoat after the 2022 season. Then they brought in Garrett Riley, and I love Garrett Riley. They was able to put up some points, which they struggled to do this season, but they've been giving up a lot of points, and they're supposed to have this top-tier defense. I'm not getting it. Don't allow a play on the road to come down to a flag. It's that old Andre Iguodala saying, if you're going to win by 1 point, you got to win by 15. And unfortunately, you was put in that situation. Miami, we're going to talk about Miami a lot, but Paul Feinbaum believes that their playoff hopes are fading fast. Yeah. Duh. Of course, yes, they're fading fast. And the crazy thing is, I called the upset with SMU and Miami. Just understanding the way that college football works, just understanding the proximity that Rhett Lashley have with them. Miami Hurricane program. He was a coordinator there, offensive coordinator there before Shannon Dawson was an offensive coordinator. So I'm sure there was just some stuff he knew, some tendencies he could pick up on. And I just had a feeling in SMU that they were going to win that game. We'll see the fans storm the field. That's exactly what happened now. Miami certainly helped them out by giving them the game. And we're going to talk about Carson Beck quite a little bit later. So don't want to speak too much on that. But that's our Into the News segment. We're going to move right along and get to our first segment of the day. So Carson Beck decided to play the blame game this past weekend. Ohio State is good. I just think people are overrating Heartline. I think that's a great. Oh shoot, I moved your show to 6 to 1. Want to watch the reveal show to 6? Okay, yeah, that's cool. I'm cool with 6 o'clock. Yeah, the reveal show tonight. So yeah, cool with that. That's perfect. I want to watch the reveal show as well. Julian Sayin is legit though. Agreed. Ohio State is good. I just think people overrating Heartline. Love what we got in the comment section. Love when these guys come in here and chat it up. So let's talk about Carson Beck. All right. Carson Beck not having any sort of accountability this weekend, to me, was just crazy. Like, you see things in this realm, and let me turn my mic up. I didn't realize my mic was this low. You see things in this realm, and you hope for a quarterback. One, you can tell he's distraught. His eyes are bloodshot red. Head down. Lift your head up, young man. There'll be other days. But for him, I think there was some truth in what he was saying, right? But in saying that, Miami isn't one of those teams where the offensive coordinator's up in the box and you talking to him on the phone. Like, he's literally down there on the sideline with you. If you felt that way, where was the communication as the leader of this team? Tyler Van Dyke was the ultimate Rhett Lashley product, for sure. So, you lose the Louisville game. We can blame the system. We can blame this play. We can blame that play. We can blame your defense for getting down 14-0. At the end of the game, you threw 4 interceptions, buddy. Overtime, your team is driving, right? First overtime, you guys look like you're about to punch it into the end zone. You throw a pass that you had no business throwing, bro. But it's the system fault. It's the staff fault. It's not your fault. And even if you feel like you're not truly responsible for this, there's other ways. And these kids have media training. There's other ways you can handle this without saying, I just ran the plays that were called. Brother, could you throw your team under the bus anymore, right? And it was just a lot to this. And the reason I said it was a lot to this because we also saw Shannon Dawson, and it looked like he and Mario Cristobal were getting into it. They actually weren't getting into it. I think he was frustrated with one of the runs that they had. He was like, yo, the hole was there, the play was there, they're not making the plays. And, when you're just that animated on the sideline, I couldn't tell with Cristobal if he was like, yo, calm down before I put my hands on you, or calm down because I'm nervous. I guess he probably never seen Shannon Dawson like that. But when you look at Miami, you look at the players that they have on his team, in somebody that can stretch the field like a Malachi Tony, and a running back like Mark Fletcher. Carson Beck was brought there to win, to kind of do what Cam Ward was able to do last year. Last year, they led the nation in scoring at 43 points a clip. Right now, they're 11 points down. They're at 32 points per game. So, of course, Shannon Dawson is frustrated. I'm sure Mario Cristobal is frustrated. I'm sure Carson Beck is frustrated, for sure. But when you're dealing with frustration, after a loss, I think that's when you should see how a person handle it. Do you handle it with a great deal of integrity? Or do you kind of just say, hey, not my fault. It ain't on me. Press conferences for players should happen the next morning after games. In your opinion, if not bowls or playoff games, the coaches should be the only one to sit and speak after games. It's too much for these kids. That's interesting. Emotional loss like that. My dog say he think it might be too much for them to have to speak to the media right after a loss like this. I don't know. It's kind of what you signed up for. Maybe in the past before they weren't getting paid, I would probably agree with that. And in some stances, I do agree with that because now you got this clip that is viral, and it make this kid looks questionable. And when he does go into the NFL and he goes through the combine process, this will be brought up time and time again. This will be brought up an awful lot. I promise you this will be brought up a lot. And a lot of people going to be asking them questions like, yo, why'd you throw your team under the bus like that? So, yes, after those emotions come down, and and to honestly, to my dog Dante's point of East Coast Gridiron, yes, those emotions come down. You're not just feeling the gut point of a loss. You're not just like that. And some of these kids were getting death threats and stuff like that. So in that way, Dante, I could certainly agree with that. I can certainly agree on that. These kids, these aren't kids in the one with money that they make. They are professionals. You are looking at a $4 million quarterback there. Love it, love it. Great point, West May. I think this might be my first time seeing you in a comment session. Welcome, bro. This is Governor of College Football. I am the governor. What's happening, bro? Hopefully you're doing well. So, great point. Hey, they getting paid. He's one of the highest paid players in the sport. Hey, perform. And part of that job duty is speaking to the media. So, I hated the way that he threw his team under the bus. They ran the same thing the entire game. Where was that communication from your end as the leader of this team? Where was that communication? Hey, this is what I'm seeing. Your coordinator's on right there on the sideline. It's not a phone call. Hey, they're running a lot of this. What do you think about going to this series or that series? Like, how could we expose this? There was just no communication, and to throw your entire staff under the bus. Mostly Shannon Dawson, who's an outstanding offensive coordinator, who just a year ago led the nation in scoring as an offensive coordinator. And to see this 11-point dip, you can look at Shannon Dawson, you can look at Mario Cristobal. Maybe they didn't recruit well, but they have playmakers out there. That's the most frustrating thing. It's not like they don't have playmakers. They do have playmakers. You just can't turn the ball over in these pivotal moments the way that he turned the ball over. It seriously cannot happen. All right, let's get to our next segment. We're going to talk about Black Sunday. All right, so Black Sunday. I feel like this is Black Sunday 4.0 for like the last 4 or 5 weeks. We have to remember these kids are representing your school, not a multi. Okay, that's fair. You see it different. You don't disagree, but these guys are not under contract. They're under NIL. That is a difference. That's a great point. So Black Sunday this past weekend, we saw Hugh Freeze get fired as a head coach of Auburn, and we highlighted it last week when we did our preview for the Auburn and Kentucky game where we said, hey, this could be a fire bowl. We got another fire bowl this week as well. Even though I did say I didn't think if Kentucky lost, Mark Stoops will get fired. I think the Kentucky brass were pinpointing a lot of things. They did lose Vince Merrill. He's now the general manager at Louisville. They will lose some recruits for that. But I think a lot of them will also say, well, before Mark Stoops, where was Kentucky football, right? And I think that is the reason. I think he had a lot more weight than Hugh Freeze added. So I look at this whole entire Hugh Freeze thing. I don't know. I look at it in a couple different pieces. I think the first piece I look at is we saw how bad the experiment was with Brian Harsin, and Mike Bobo was the offensive coordinator there. And we saw that things just did not work. Had a little bit of success in year 1. Year 2 was a complete dumpster fire, right? So when we look at the program, Cadillac Williams, when Brian Harsin was fired, had won the locker room. And you start to see them fight a little bit more on the field. Did it result into wins? Sometimes, not all of the time. But I think you had some momentum with that. And then when you hired Hugh Freeze, it was said that Cadillac Williams would be staying when you hired him. But I think Hugh Freeze was smart, and Cadillac Williams was like, hey, this locker room really loves you. You are an Auburn man through and through. I cannot compete with that. So they both decided to, hey, yeah, I will leave your staff. That's what's best. I wonder why, even though with limited experience, why he didn't get a bigger shot in being a head coach. And I said that because now DJ Durkin is your interim head coach, and I believe DJ Durkin 100% can pull what I like to call the Brent Key, get that interim tag, show some success as an interim head coach. DJ Durkin is certainly one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. Auburn defensively, it's not the issue. They just couldn't put up points, which was supposed to be Hugh Freeze's specialty, and I think his inability to pick quarterbacks were bad. Peyton Thorne shouldn't have been your guy. I don't think you guys did enough research on Jackson Arnold. We saw what happened in Norman last year. Like, make no mistake about it. Why I do place most of the blame and the onus on Seth Luttrell as the offensive coordinator last year, I think what he was trying to do, he was just trying to do too much. You saw a lot of veer and shoot principles with the wide splits, but in its hardest, an air raid attack. But he was just trying to do too much last year, and you see them struggle. I think we're seeing Oklahoma having the ability to move the ball. I mean, we saw sometimes this year where Moneyline John Mateer wasn't 100% healthy and they struggled offensively. But there's been some times like this Tennessee game really surprised me. I did not think Oklahoma had that in it. They played outstanding defense. Peyton Bowen looked amazing playing that deep middle. And offensively, they was able to move the ball. I thought that was key. Brent Venables knows he could coach on the defensive side of the ball. He just need to go get a guy like Ben Arbuckle and get a quarterback like John Mateer, and they're still right in there in the thick of things as far as this college football playoff race. Now, let's get back to Auburn. I feel like Hugh Freeze made horrible decisions at who should be his starting quarterback. Peyton Thorne, that one really got me. When it was Peyton Thorne, and I remember reading a lot of the fall camp intel heading into the 2024 season? Or was it 2023 season? I think it was heading to the 2023 season, and Robbie Ashford was still there. And I thought, hey, Robbie Ashford should be able to win this job. I know he does have issues with inaccuracies, but he's a great creator outside of the pocket. And we've even seen him play. At times he's looked bad this year, but at times he's looked really good. That Georgia Tech game, he's a quarterback at Wake Forest now, if you didn't know that. He played pretty well in that game. I thought he should have been given more of a chance, but and a guy that was pretty much a mastermind during his time at Ole Miss offensively, during his time in Liberty when he had Malik Willis and had them putting up points in bunches in the Con-USC State Conference. We just did not see that here. So I believe his first huge pitfall was his selection and quarterback. As a head coach, you're thought to be, and you should be very confident. You should have a great belief in your system and a great belief in yourself as a head coach, but you can't be out here performing miracles every weekend. Yes, Peyton Thorne over Casey Thompson was crazy. Yeah, Peyton Thorne was I just never got that decision, right? So as a head coach, you can't be out here performing miracles each and every week. And though I think he, in what he thought was a thorough enough job to say, hey, I can take Jackson Arnold and make him some of those same issues we've seen in Norman the past few seasons arrived at Auburn. And that's why after the Baylor game, people got upset at me. After the Baylor game, I said, hey, definitely wasn't impressed with Baylor, but I wasn't overly impressed with Auburn too. I get it. Baylor stayed in that too high safety the entire time. But, like dog, you don't see the weapons that they have on the outside. Like, you don't see Singleton, you don't see Cam Coleman that they have on the outside. I just thought at times they couldn't score points in bunches with a lot of us who do predictions, who do college football content year-round, like my dog ECG, like my dog Just Jalen, like we do over here at CFB Nation. Like, we just thought, like, hey, they could pop this year, but it didn't happen. So I think Hugh Freeze's biggest pitfall, one, was the quarterback position. It killed him. It fried him. It absolutely fried him, his choices at quarterback. And in many cases, it made or break him. I remember watching a game last year between Auburn and Arkansas. It was one of the worst college football games I watched. Hilarious, right? But I'm talking about, it was a turnover fest. It was like 4 plays, 3 turnovers. Like, it was that ridiculous. If you're an Auburn fan or Arkansas fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was just on the phone laughing with Moon the entire time about it. So I think that was one of the major pitfalls for Hugh Freeze. Also, golfing. This is one of the things I was telling Auburn fans, like, yo, give him a break. He's done the work. They constructed a really good roster. You got playmakers on the outside. I love what they had at running back. I thought Jackson Arnold could probably produce in the system. I was thinking like Hugh Freeze at the moment that he could possibly produce in the system. But the biggest complaint was like, yo, is he putting in the work? Like, he out there on the green. Like, he better fight for his job. Like, we not trying. Bowl eligibility isn't just good enough at Auburn. We actually have to win. We need to compete for the conference. Like, that's what we want to be at. That's our expectations as a program. So I think that was another huge pitfall for him. One, terrible selections in quarterback because he knows the system is outstanding. He said, hey, if I can do it with Malik Willis, I can do it with anybody. I think that hurt him. Secondly, probably did spend too much time on the green. I think he did spend way too much time on the green golfing. So I believe, what was his buyout? He does walk away with $15.8 million, paid out monthly at about $406,000 through January 2029. It's kind of like what you look at is like Deb Cap in the NFL. So he'll be getting some good money through the time. But during that tenure, 15-19 overall, 6-16 in SEC play, that's not going to cut it at a university like Auburn. Love the comment about Westmates. He said, take it from a Sooner fan. Arnold's problem aren't the system. It's between the ears with him. Hey, man, I ain't mad at it at all. I know you know it better than I know it. And it was rough watching you guys last year, to be honest with you, Wes, because you saw that defense play outstanding. And time again, the offense let you down. That was the hard, because Brent Venables did such an outstanding job with that defense a season ago. And it just offensively, you guys, it was difficult to watch at time. It reminded me of that season after Deshaun Watson had one of his best seasons before everything happened. But the Texans were awful. They couldn't get stops, and J.J. Watt ran up to him and say, hey, I apologize. We will be better next year. We wasted one of your good years. That's what it reminded me of last year watching you all play. And with Hugh Freeze, 15-19 overall, 6-16 in SEC play, that's just not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it in the SEC, especially like a prestigious university like Auburn. It was embarrassing. And then offense was near the bottom of the conference at 340 yards a game. If you hire a defensive-oriented head coach, that coach better be able to play defense like we're seeing Mike Elko do in College Station right now. If you hire an offensive-minded coach, that coach better be able to move the ball. Hugh Freeze, they struggled with moving the ball, but I think a lot of it started with quarterback play because he did have some weapons here and there. It just started with quarterback play. So, now, we talk about the coaches carousel. We talk about some guys who may be the best fit for this spot, for the Auburn opening. I think if DJ Durkin can get some of the success that I think he can have through the stretch, maybe get them through bowl eligibility. I think they got to win 2 out of the 3. I know they play in the Iron Bowl. I believe they play Vandy, and I think they also play Mercer. Win 2 out of those 3 games, you're bowl eligible. I think you get some buy-in with the donors, with the boosters, and maybe you could be seen as a guy, because the defenses for Auburn have been outstanding under DJ Durkin. I think that should be the guy to get the first look. Don't make the same mistake twice. Make sure you do all your thorough research. Hey, how's he with the locker room, right? How does he handle the press conferences? Is he putting at the work? What time does he get to the office? What time does he leave the office? These are all the things that I'm looking at as an Auburn fan now to see, is there an instant change? And you can see it. You can see it around the building. If players, those practices are more intense, they're going a little bit more physically than they normally go. You can see it. So the first guy that should get the look, before we even start to look at the long list of coaches, the first guy that deserves the look is certainly DJ Durkin. Then after that, you have the who's who. You got Brian Kelly just lost his job. James Franklin lost his job a few weeks ago. There's some guys that get looks. Me personally, I live in Virginia, love Virginia Tech. I hope that Virginia Tech hires James Franklin. I'm 100% on board with that. Virginia Tech is willing to spend money now. They done put like $200 million aside to be able to rebuild this program and help this program win in the ACC. Bruce Arians is a part of that committee. Love it 100%. So if I'm Auburn, it should start with DJ Durkin, who I think the home run hit for Auburn would be, I don't know if you could pry him away. There's a guy in Hotlanta by the name of Brent Key, outstanding head coach. Both Jalen and I have had opportunities to talk to him at ACC Media Days these past 3 years. Dude is just a stand-up guy, charismatic, offensive line. You're going to play physical with him. I think he would probably scare some of the boosters and stuff because his offenses, they're not going to wow you. So I think if you do hire him, even though I think he's seen as an offensive guy because of his offensive line, he was an offensive lineman at Georgia Tech in the 90s, I think you will have to go get a hot shot offensive coordinator. Hey, thank you, mate. Wes, mate, I agree with you 100%. I think Franklin to Virginia Tech will be a home run. I think the program will be so happy with that. But if I'm Auburn, like I said, I think Brent Key is the guy that I want. He's a disciplinarian. I think in college football, we need more disciplinarians. There are far too many players, coaches out there. Jeff Brom is a guy at Louisville I love. He holds everybody accountable. You have to answer to your mistakes. There's no just walking to the sideline, oh, you'll get it next time, like we see some coaches clapping it up. No, you're not going to get that from a Jeff Brom. You're not going to get that from a Brent Key. Answer me this right now. What were you thinking? Not rhetorically, no. Come here and really answer. What were you thinking on that play? What did you see? All right, well, this is what I saw, and this is what you should have saw. I think they're going to need a disciplinarian like that. But it needs to be a hotshot offense coordinator that they pair with him. I think it has to be agreed upon thing. Hey, we want you as your coach, and while we think you should pick who you want as offensive coordinator, we would like to be active in helping you pick that offensive coordinator as well. So I know John Cohen did confirm that's Auburn AD. He said he's the one-man committee. He's the one that's making this decision. He's been there since 2022. And he knows a lot of that stake here. That football program, even though you're the athletic director over all of the programs here, your football team don't win, you can lose your job as athletic director as well. But I think Brent Key is the guy. If I'm a team, I'm looking at a guy that has built it. He's built it with little pieces through the portal. He's been able to recruit in high school, but he's been able to develop in a sport that is so transactional. Brent Key is one of the last transformational coaches left. This team in Georgia Tech right now is playing above their level. You look on that team, you look on how many 3 stars they have, 4 stars they have. They have 2 stars on that team as well. It's because of the development that Brent Key and his staff has been able to do there. So if I'm Auburn, I'm having a conversation with Brent Key. Hey, we know you love it at Georgia Tech, but when I tell you come down here, you get treated like a king down here. To me, that's the home run hit. Of course, Sumrall get a lot of good looks. We talked about BK. We talked about James Franklin. It'll be interesting to see who else loses their job as this go on. Will Stein will be a guy that everybody's talking about. Lane Kiffin, of course, is the home run. Everybody feel like he's the home run hit. But the more I think about it, I'm not sure if he leaves Starkville. I think Baton Rouge has a lot to offer. I do think Gainesville has a lot to offer as well. I don't deem Happy Valley as a big of a job as everybody else do. I don't know if that's just me or what. But Key has great ties to the ATL too. Exactly. So I'm not sure if he leaves. I feel like Brent will have to leave for a Penn State type of job. I think that's fair. You think Matt Rule would be a great hire for Auburn? Don't know if Auburn could afford him. I don't think that's a bad. I don't think that's a bad hire either. A guy that's offensive minded. You know, his teams will be able to put some points up on the board. I think the Brass will be okay with that. I think the higher ups will be okay with that as well. So I ain't mad at that at all. So let's talk about this AP poll. How we feeling about the AP poll, yeah? We know we do got the college football playoff poll tonight. I can't wait for it. I'm excited for it just to see what they're thinking, especially what now strength of schedule is the number one metric when evaluating teams. Of course, wins and stuff like that. But I'm talking about when we're just looking purely at metrics. Strength of schedule does matter. And this is currently, this is an old one. My apologies. I ain't even look at the damn image. LSU in the top 25 and Penn State. Imagine that. Let me go find a real image. Give me 1 second. Alrighty. When was this taken? That's old. Alrighty, so we're gonna go with a video. Don't know what I got up here, but that's what we gonna roll with. Ain't it? Is it? Alright, so we're gonna roll with that. Alright, so let's talk about this top 25. If I can get down to it. Alright. Ohio State, number 1. Of course, Indiana's at number 2. What do y'all think we'll see with the college football playoff poll tonight? I'm not sure how Ohio State is 1 for the first AP poll. I'm sorry, for the first college football playoff poll. I'm not sure they're number 1. We got Indiana at 2, Texas A&M at 3. Texas A&M or Indiana could very well be that first team in tonight's college football playoff poll. They really could. Even though Ohio State has looked really good, they really could be that first team in the poll. We got Alabama at 4, Georgia at 5, Oregon at 6 at 7-1, Ole Miss at 7, BYU at 8, Texas Tech at 9, Notre Dame at 10. I thought once upon a time Notre Dame might not have been making a college football playoff. That has 100% changed since then. Oklahoma, my dog West team, is up there at number 11 at 7-2. Virginia, number 12 at 8-1. Texas, number 7-2. Texas, look out for Texas, y'all. I'm telling you, Texas, when you're losing the way that they were losing to Mississippi State, in the conditions that they were in Starkville, to come back and win a game like that, the type of momentum. You saw how hype Arch Manning was before that game started. Look out for Texas. They're finally bringing their defense. I know their defense gave up some crazy plays at the end of that game, but Texas is definitely trending in the right direction. Louisville, I've been high on Louisville. Jalen knows that. My dog Dante from ECG knows that as well. But we don't know how long Isaac Brown is out for. That's what scares me. They do have running back room. They have a pretty decent running back room. That scares me. Vandy at number 15. Georgia Tech free falling. They're down to 16. Utah at 17. Utah's a team I cannot get a read on. You see the BYU game. Texas Tech put hands and feet on them, and that was in Salt Lake City. Can't get a read on them. Miami, A&M will be over Indiana. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Miami is a team I'm not sure that's deserving to be in the top 25. Am I wrong for saying that? I don't think Miami should be in the top 25. Missouri at 6-2 at number 19. USC at 6-2. Big one for USC this past weekend. I think Lincoln Riley is really starting to show that they have the ability to win ugly games, win those ugly Big Ten games. And that's what I was worried about as he transitioned from the Big 12 when he was the head coach of the Sooners to the Pac-12 temporarily, then to the Big 10. Could they win those ugly games? Because we know Big 12 plays sexy ball, Pac-12 plays sexy ball as well. But they're finding a way to win games ugly. And I'm still mad about the Illinois loss for them. Also mad about the Notre Dame loss because I believe that game came down to a few plays like a reverse that shouldn't even be in a reverse pass that shouldn't even be in an air raid playbook in the rain. I was really upset about that. Memphis at 8-1 is at number 22. Really big game for them, and we're going to cover that a little bit later in this episode. They play Tulane this weekend. Tennessee at 23 at 6-3. Tennessee fans, I do think you guys are a little bit delusional. Just going to be real with you. Sorry, I just had to say it. You guys are a little bit delusional. Expectations versus reality, just not one of your strong suits. Washington at 6-2 at 24. Cincinnati, they got hands and feet put on them this past weekend at number 25. Others receiving vote, Iowa, JMU. Pittsburgh has looked really good as of late. San Diego State is playing outstanding. North Texas, South Florida, SMU. Houston, Illinois, LSU, and Arizona State. So, let's talk about it. I think Iowa is one of the most disrespected teams in college football. You look at their resume, some of the teams that they played, I think they had the best chance versus Indiana out of everybody Indiana has played this year. And they were just a few plays away. The same thing with the Iowa State loss when they lost the Cy-Hawk game. They were just a few plays away of winning that game. I believe both games, they didn't lose both games by 3, was it? Or maybe like both games by a cumulative of 5 points that they've lost. Why Iowa isn't in the top 25 to me is remarkable. And they're going to, and the way they win, I know a lot of people don't like it. They're not going to get much offensively. I thought Tim Lester would get more out of this offense because he did a season ago. I thought Mark Gornowski would be a great fit as a quarterback. They're still not doing much offensively, but what Phil Parker has been able to do the better part of a decade in Iowa City is outstanding. One of the best defensive coordinators in all of college football. I love what Iowa's doing. They lost by 3 points to Iowa State. They lost by 5 to Indiana. They had opportunities, both of those games, but this team is just going to play outstanding defense. They're playing really well. And what they did for the trophy of the Rosedale, Minnesota 41-3. Like, that's how they feel. They're going to beat them that bad. 41-3 is crazy to me. So, they play Oregon this weekend. It's in Iowa City. I ain't previewing that game today, but when I do preview that game, I expect Iowa to win. I think that crowd's gonna be. I think it's gonna be insane, and I think we're gonna see Dante Moore struggle against that Phil Parker defense. I really do. So Iowa for me is a top 25 team. I know they have 2 losses by a total of 8 points. I ain't mad at it. I was a really good football program. We've seen what their head coach Kirk Ferentz has been able to get out of that team time and time of year. Do they do it in an ugly way? Yes. Is it always ugly? Yes. Is it really sexy? Really. Like once every 2 years, you get a sexy offensive performance out of that team. But that's just a program who's always there in the thick of things. You always get sick of them too. Like, man, why Iowa got to always be this consistent, right? So that's why I'm at with Iowa, 100%. I love where this program is at. And for me, they're a top 25 team. And I'm not happy about it at all. Because in my opinion, they should be a top 25 team. So the Iowa disrespect is real. Can't believe they're not in the top 25. But I tell you this, they'll be in that top 25 tonight. Pitt, 7-2, outstanding. Top 25 team. Then you get into the conversation, well, who do you start taking out, Governor? Well, Tennessee got 3 losses. Tennessee was at home. That was essentially a college football playoff game in Knoxville this weekend, and a team from Norman came in there and took their lunch money. So do Tennessee deserve to be in the top 25? Get over here. Get them up out of there. James Madison, JMU is playing outstanding football right now. North Texas should certainly be in the conversation. I know we think about the USF game, that Friday night game. It was in Denton. We thought we were going to see fireworks. We did in the first half. It was just a muff punt right before half. South Florida was able to execute, and it was bombs away right after that. To me, North Texas should be a top 25 team. There needs to be programs that get more looks. San Diego State, where are they? And like I say, you start looking at teams we can take out. Miami is certainly a team that can be taken out. Tennessee is certainly a team that can be taken out, in my opinion. So I look at this AP poll. I ain't mad at it. I'm just ready now to see where the College Football Playoff Committee has these teams. How do they evaluate teams? And where do our philosophies align as it pertains to evaluating these teams? That's why I'm at 100%, to be honest with you guys. So overall, not mad at it. It's cool. It is what it is. But let's go ahead and get to our first game preview. This Tulane versus Memphis game. Walking in Memphis, man. Friday night game. Really good. Some good Friday night games. The USC plays Northwestern this Friday night. I think Northwestern is better than advertised. Really like what USC do. I will be covering that game. I will be going live tomorrow, probably at the normal time, which is really not no normal time anymore, but probably at 9 a.m. I'll be going live for the game. And you can expect these game breakdowns as uploads on our YouTube channel as well. Shout out to everybody who's been watching the show today. Been getting a lot of activity in the chat. I love it. Love talking to people. I will break up whatever I'm talking about just to talk to you in the chat. So don't be afraid. Come holler at us, man, at Governor College Football on YouTube. So, Tulane versus Memphis, man. What an outstanding game. The entire year, one of my favorite sayings is we are not worthy. I look at this college football season and some of the things that we've seen this year. This year is very reminiscent of the story 2007 season. And while no season, and for my money, can ever replace that season, I think we've had some moments this year where you say, wow, there's some outstanding things going on. And we're seeing a bunch of NFL trades today. Wow. Hey, the Jets are selling. The Cowboys just got Quinnen Williams. That's crazy. They just what did they trade for him? They gave him a second round pick in 2026, a first round pick in 2027. Hey man, we're gonna go to commercial break. I gotta call my dad. My apologies, everyone. Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason. Even though we don't celebrate that, CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping.
All right, I'm back. I was trying to call my dad to let him know what had just happened, but back to this game. We got Tulane versus Memphis this weekend. We are not worthy. Such an outstanding game. So let's talk a little bit about the background. They do play November 7th, which is Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do you watch college football or do you just skim through it? Because we get a lot of great weekday games. We get an outstanding game in the MAC tonight where we get Miami of Ohio playing Ohio tonight. So we get to see Parker Navarro and DeQuan Finn go at it tonight. We are not worthy. So that's a great game. If you want to see a really good game tonight, that's a great game. I believe it starts at 7 p.m. Let's talk about this Friday game. Memphis versus Tulane, outstanding programs. Memphis does lead the all-time series 25-15-1, but Tulane has won the last two times. So I think that's where we at with this program. Two coaches, well, one in Ryan Silverfield, who isn't getting enough looks by some of these job openings that are starting to appear. Then you got like Sumrall, all he has done during his tenure at Troy and now Tulane. He's had the ability to win a lot of ball games. He really has. They did lose a game I didn't expect them to lose this past week to UTSA. That one was a little bit of a head scratcher, but let's talk about both of these programs and where they're at. So let's talk about the head coaches and the team pulse and kind of figure out where they're at. So I love this Memphis team. I love the makeup. I love how they have that identity. They match the identity of the great city of Memphis. And when you think about Memphis, you think about that grit, that blue collar lunch pail. Bring your lunch pail to work, and we're gonna put some work in. And when I look at this Ryan Silverfield coach team, that's a lot what I get from them. And then we're gonna talk about Jon Sumrall. Jon Sumrall is dealing with a lot right now because there's a lot of teams. I'm sure he got a lot of emails, a lot of missed calls. He is the it coach at the G5 level at this current moment in time. He and Alex Golesh are both up there. When we started to look at who's the it coaches, who are going to make that quantum leap from the G5 ranks to the Power 4 ranks, you start looking at those two guys as a key catalyst in those guys that could possibly make those jumps. Why Ryan Silverfield? That Zach Randolph grit. Hey, man, shout out to my guy, Wes May. Hey, Wes May, congratulations. You are officially a 1%er, brother. We appreciate you. That Zach Randolph grit. Yes, sir. Zach Randolph, Zebo, man. Zebo was dirty in that post, man. I was watching something recently, and somebody was saying their welcome to the NBA moment was Zebo. I forgot who it was. Might have been. Was it Perk? It might have been Perk that said that. So Tulane currently 6-2. Like I said, Jon Sumrall is truly a catalyst and one of those guys who's getting a lot of looks at the G5 guys. So let's talk about this Tulane team and what they do offensively. Joe Craddock, offensive coordinator, is pro-style, balance. They emphasize physical run and play action, but they're not afraid to go up tempo. They kind of play in gears. You'll see at times they'll slow it down and play the percentages and play the clock. You'll see at times that they'll speed it up. That's just a lot you're going to get from their team. Head quarterback, former BYU quarterback Jake Ratzlaff is their quarterback, and he does have 1,600 yards passing, another 513 on the ground, 16 total TDs. Love what Amari Hayes brings to their team, 376 yards through the air. And I would like to see this team not have the letdowns that they have had this year. That's kind of what's bothered me about Tulane. And you can't have some of the letdowns that they've had this season. But in order to win this game, they're going to have to get up early. Really similar to the same format that USF had. They got a lead versus Memphis, but then we saw the stadium come alive. Down 14 in the fourth quarter, and they were still able to pull out that game. They're going to have to get up, get a lead, and control the game. I'm saying from the opening kickoff, they're going to have to control the game, find rhythm, keep Brendan Lewis and company off the field. That is 100% what they're going to have to do. Defensively for Tulane, Greg, I don't even try to announce his last game. His scheme is a leverage-based coverage system, and gap integrity is important. So it's a sound defense. They're going to play with a great deal of discipline. They do want to play aggressively, but if you had to look at the two, which is more important, playing with a great deal of discipline is more important than the aggressiveness. It's a bend-don't-break system, which we see a lot in these conferences like the American. And American's one of the best conferences in college football. If you haven't had the opportunity to watch much American games this year, whether you're a fan of a team in the SEC or Big 10 or Big 12 conference football, Big 12 football is probably my favorite football, if I'm being honest. But a close second is probably the football that we're getting in American right now. We are not worthy. And in fact, we were at ACC Media Days this past offseason. My dog Jalen and Moon, we all got to talk to some of the prestigious coaches down there. And the fact that teams were fighting to get on College Football Nation's YouTube and talk ball with us was really outstanding. And I can't wait to go to American Media Days next year. I've actually been trying to decide. I was having this conversation with Moon, which I know what bowl games I want to go to, but what conference championships I want to go to. Last year we were credentialed for the Big 12 and ACC. I won ACC. I'm not sure where I'm going this year. I'm just not quite sure. But back to Tulane. There's moments that this team looks really good. There's been moments this year I'm like, this is probably the best team in the American. And there were other moments this year I'm like, this might be a middle-tier team in American. But they need to be explosive. They need to possess the ball. They need to win that time of possession, that 33.5 to 34 minutes. That's what's key to winning this game because that atmosphere is going to be electric. Nighttime in Memphis is going to be crazy. I promise you it's going to be crazy. So let's talk a little bit about Memphis offensive scheme and defensive scheme and what they like to do. Offensive coordinator Tim Cramsey, it's a spread. It's a pro spread if you want to label it correctly. Physical run fits. They like to take their vertical shots. They get Brendan Lewis going offensively. He's one of those type of quarterbacks, very similar to Byron Brown. He prefers how he warms up, couple runs, get hit a little bit, get knocked up, smelling salt. All right, boom, I'm locked in. Now let's take some shots. Let's play sound football. But this team is a time of possession team. This team plays with a great deal of aggression, and it's really difficult to go into Memphis and get a win. I'm telling you, it's really difficult to do that. And they're cooking offensively under Tim Cramsey. 492.2 yards per game. Lewis has 1,800 yards passing, 557 yards rushing. What kind of surprised me with Lewis this year is the evolution that he's made since the time he was at Nevada and then coming to Memphis, passing the ball. I remember me and Jalen, one of our great insiders, was week 0 last year. 3rd and 17, Nevada's calling a quarterback draw. 3rd and 17, Memphis is throwing the ball. I think that's the evolution. I think when we talk about transformational coaching, that's transformational coaching. That's development. That's what we want to see here, right? Cortez Bram Jr., 632 yards on the season, 7 touchdowns. And this team, I think their biggest strength, one of their greatest strengths, is when they get to the red zone, they want to score touchdowns. When Memphis gets to the red zone, they want to score touchdowns. That's what you're going to get almost 100% at the time. 97.4% of their red zone trips turn into points. When I'm starting to look at teams, I'm starting to look at some of these advanced metrics and trying to figure out, hey, where are those greatest strengths for a team versus the greatest weakness for a team? And then when I'm starting to pick who I think will win, and there's just other factors that, we don't think about when we're doing previews or predictions for games. But what I'm thinking, that's what I'm thinking 100%. It's almost like trying to be, formula based when I'm picking these teams. Defense coordinator Jordan Hankins. It's a fast attacking 4-2-5. Chaos. We've seen the 4-2-5 is really take the college football world by storm with the ability to have the fifth defensive back on the field and having the nickel on the field. And when a lot of these teams who like to go up tempo and they stay in a base 11 personnel set, we're going to match you with the 4-2-5 and we're going to play in our 4-2-5. You want to play fast, play fast. We're good too. And Memphis is averaging 19.2 points per game. They're +9 in the turnover margin, which is outstanding. And their front seven is the ones that are really anchoring this defense and forcing a lot of mistakes. This is what they're doing defensively. I love what Jordan Hankins is doing as well. So let's look at some advanced metrics. Memphis is averaging 6.4 yards per play. Tulane is at 5.9. What do I always say? You want to be at around 6 to 6.1 if you're a really good team. Below average is where Tulane is right now. I would like them to get that up a little bit. And they have the players on that team. Why? I'm not sure. Turnover margin, Memphis is +9. That's 6th in the nation. Tulane is +1. That's 60th in the nation. That's a huge advantage right there. Red zone efficiency, we already talked about Memphis, 97.4%. That's 4th in the nation versus Tulane, who's at 86.2 allowed. That's 82nd in the nation. Another huge strength for Memphis, and another huge weakness for Tulane. So I would expect some of these red zone trips for Memphis to turn into touchdowns, not field goals. I expect them to turn into touchdowns. So I think that's one of the huge things where we look at, all right, how are we looking on third downs, right? Memphis is converting at about a 43.6% clip. Tulane is allowing a 43.6% clip, which is 112th in the nation. We're starting to add up these strengths for Memphis, and I think that this is a must-win game for Tulane. It's also a must-win game for Memphis because when you start to look at the layout and the landscape of American and what's going on in the American right now, and every game is a must-win game if you anticipate on going to the college football playoff, because I think based on these new metrics that the college football playoff is using, the winner of the American is probably who's going to be in the college football playoff as that G5 bid. But at the same time, San Diego State is trending in the right direction. JMU is trending in the right direction. But once you start to look at the strength of schedule and you look at from the middle tier and up in the American, you see some quality teams there. Even when you start to look at some of the lower tiers, FIU has given teams a problem this year. We've seen UTSA give teams a few problems. FAU can put up points in bunches. They just can't get stops, right? So that's what I started to see when I started to look at some of these things. And how fast can Brendan Lewis get started get going this game? That's what's key for me. If they're running the ball and he's looking like Bryce Brown out there, yards and bunches, then they're able to build off the play action. They're able to take their vertical shots. I like what Memphis has to offer. And for me, there's a few things that I believe in 100% as it pertains to my ideology to college football. CFB Nation and the rest of us who talk this sport 24/7, we don't have major backing. We're doing this on our own accord, on our own dollar. We are the 1%ers. Judge Jalen is a 1%er. Dante from ECG is a 1%er. The people who really want to push this sport forward are those 1%ers, right? That's one of my ideologies. No moral victories. That's another one of my ideologies, right? It's no moral victories in college football. I don't care how good you looked in the loss. That's one of my ideologies. No moral victories. So I keep saying how great Ole Miss looked against Georgia in the loss. Hey, no moral victories. That's just what we live by. There's another thing that I have. If Memphis is at home at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, you don't bet against them. You just don't. They went at home. Ryan Silverfield sat down there. Jalen was there. He seen it. I was there. I seen it while he was talking to CFB Moon. He said, hey, man, we went at home. What, we top 3? Is that the stat? Top 3 in the country, not just in the G5 ranks and protecting our home field over a better part of a decade? I think they're top 3 as well as longest home winning streaks. I'm not betting against Memphis in Memphis. I don't care who they're playing. Give me Memphis in this game. I think it'll be a daggone good game. But I think that Friday night lights, that home cooking you're going to get down there, that barbecue you're going to get down there in Memphis, man, give me Memphis. I think they win this game by a couple scores. Give me Memphis 34-20. I think Tulane will be competitive. I think this is a must-win game for Tulane when I see who needs this game more. And I hate to go to that because both of these teams need this game because I'm sure both teams still have college football playoff aspirations, even though it's a little bit more stark for Tulane than it is for Memphis. This is a must-win game. Your college football playoff, if you have those aspirations in the G5, it started either now or a few weeks ago. That's just the way it's going to go. Give me Memphis to win this game, but I expect a highly competitive game. I expect both of these offenses should be able to put up some points, but I think Memphis has some advantages and some really strong advantages versus this program. Let's get into the game that I'm deeming and I'm calling if you lose, you fire bowl. Let's get into it. Fire bowl. We got Clemson versus FSU. And the thing that I love most about being able to cover this sport is just because a team is doing bad don't mean I'm not going to cover it. That's what I like about this mostly. Like, we talked about Kentucky and Auburn last week, and we talked about how important the game was for both of those programs. And I look at Memphis right now. I've never seen Dabo Swinney waver. Never, ever. Never have I ever. You remember that game? Never have I ever seen Dabo Swinney waver. I seen him waver a little bit this past weekend in a press conference. I think he's seeing some peers of his that he really respect. And when you see peers that you really respect and some of them are being fired because college football is very much a sport of what have you done for me lately, we know that. College football is definitely a sport of what have you done for me lately. If what you done for me is lately is win, then you're good. If what you done for me lately, no matter what you did for me previously, you're probably not in a good spot. You look at a guy like BK, right? Expectations versus reality vary from place to place. I think Dabo Swinney, I think people forgot where he took that program from and to where it is now, right? So you look at a guy with storied history there, 2 natties, how many ACC championships, wins he has at this point. So you look at this coach, very storied, very prestigious there, but even he knows this sport of college football we in, and when you have some of the antiquated idiosyncrasies or ideologies, whatever you want to call it, to where he does not like to utilize the transfer portal, when even I've thought with the return of production that they had this year, they probably didn't need to utilize it. Well, you look at it, you start to look at the depth when players start to get hurt. You start to look at that running back room, brother. That wasn't a running back you can go get in the portal that was better than Adam Randall. Gideon Davidson wasn't ready. So that's when we started to look at this coach, and we started to say, wow, where are you at? Really respected coach. Dabo Swinney is one of my favorite coaches in college football. I really respect him, but I think it was interesting seeing him waver for the first time because I had not yet to see him waver. Let's talk about the team from Tallahassee, great city of Tallahassee. Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell is in a weird spot because, with Dabo, the expectation for Clemson pretty much for the better part of a decade, win the ACC, let's go compete in the playoff. That is the expectation. That is the standard set forth by Mr. Dabo Swinney. The standard in Tallahassee been a little bit different. Yes, we saw them win a national championship under the tutelage of Jimbo Fisher, but then we also seen some down years as well. So when Mike Norvell got there and we saw the almost instant success that he had in 2023 with that team, we said, hey, this is the team of the future. And even when he went to go get DJU, I was like, they can still win with DJU. I thought the ACC was up for grabs in 2024, and that was clearly shown because SMU was able to come in there, go undefeated in the conference, and appear in a conference championship, which we were at. We were there last year at the and we will probably be there this year, but we have other places we can go as well. So, and then I look at FSU. I think they're in a completely different space than Dabo and Clemson is. Clemson, even though college football is a what have you done for me lately sport, Dabo has done so much there. What have Florida State done? Like, honestly, truly, what have they done? Yes, they was able to win the conference back in 2023, but last year was a down year. But I think we attributed that to quite a few things, right? I think we look at the offensive coordinator, Atkins, who was suspended for the first few games. Offense looked bad. Mike Norvell was calling plays. DJU experiment didn't work out. Didn't get the players in the building that you needed like you did the year prior. You said you needed a receiver. You got a kid from East Lansing by the name of Keon Coleman to fill a huge void. And he was able to have a lot of success that year, and now he's with the Buffalo Bills now. So I look at Clemson, and I say, Dabo could lose this game. He's not fired. But can we say the same for Mike Norvell in Tallahassee? Because the boosters in Tallahassee, they're like, hey, this is not a lot of like these other ACC schools. Virginia Tech is bad because Virginia Tech was cheap. But now Virginia Tech want to spend money, right? You can say, Wake Forest, right? Winston-Salem, Dave Clawson was a good coach there. Then they have Dickert as their head coach. But still another program. They recruit decently, but they're not afraid to spend money. Tallahassee, what you need, we got it. You don't have that same excuse that a lot of these other programs can use. Hey, the resources aren't plentiful. UCLA as an administration is struggling, right? And their athletics department I don't know where the money's going. Somebody pocketing the money, but do I know where the money going? I don't. So you can't use that same excuse in Tallahassee they can use everywhere else. The resources are plentiful. You're able to recruit in Tallahassee, right? But when you go on the road and you lose to a Stanford team, that's in just a figuring it out phase with Frank Wright as the interim head coach. They're trying to figure it the heck out. You go on the road and you lose that game, and then we see the post-game conference with Coach Norvell. It's like, damn, almost expecting it. Or you have Pitt on the ropes, and you lose that game. You decide not to show up at home versus Miami. You look at what we saw last year, and you see what you see this year, and your thought process is, hey, we don't have a lot of those problems other schools have. Recruits will still want to come play here. They still want to come to Doe Campbell Stadium and be a part of the elite. The program that Bobby Bowden built, they want to be a part of this. Hey, our boosters and donors are willing to spend money. Who you want to go get? Let's go get them. So I don't think that Coach Norvell can sit on the same stance that Dabo Swinney can sit on. Dabo Swinney's biggest issue is he refuses to use the portal. And it wasn't an issue because of their return of production this past year. They had the highest return of production in the country at somewhere like 85, 86%. We expected instant success. A lot of us did with Clemson. But it's him being hard-headed. I think this year, if he is kept, hey, bro, use the portal, bro. And if you won't use it, sit back. I'll get a GM who will use it, and you will play those players. Like, it'll become more forceful. I don't think Norvell can stand on that same ground. If they're not bowl eligible this year and not by just like, hey, we're at 500, bowl eligible by 1 or 2 games, I think Norvell is gone. And if Norvell loses this game in Tallahassee, Black Sunday will probably feature Coach Norvell. And that's the heartbreaking part about it. So I just kind of want to give you guys some background of where I'm at. Florida State does lead this series 21-16. And I look at this program and where they're at now, both of these programs, and both of these programs are just really heartbreaking. You don't expect it. Like, even though they had Tommy Castellanos, so we've got to see Tommy Castellanos quite a lot in the ACC when he was with Boston College. Shout out to my dog, Nino. Nino is my inside source there. Like, anything Boston College I got a question on, I'm preparing for a show, let me holler at Nino and see what he knows. Because he always knows something. He always has information. And with Thomas Castellanos, he expected this because he's seen it enough. He's seen it, like, and he never wavered either because he's seen it and he kind of expected this, right? And we talk about Dabo and them being 3-5 right now. We talk Mike Norvell 4-4. What are you going to do the rest of this year? Yeah, the college football playoff out of the round for both of these teams, been out of the round for both of these teams. But can you get in a decent bowl game and win a bowl game? That's what those expectations are this year. But hell, Dabo Swinney told you a few weeks ago, hell, we may end up being barely bowl eligible. He told you guys in the press conference, right? So we talked about both of those teams quite a lot. So let's first talk about Clemson. Head coach Dabo, we talked about him quite a lot. My dad is called to be back now. That's pretty funny. And offensive coordinator is Garrett Riley. Huge fan of Garrett Riley. And even though him and his brother both run the air raid, he runs it a little bit differently than his running. He runs more of I like to call it, and Moon call it as well, like a power aid, because he's not afraid to be physical. He'll get in some physical sets where I think Lincoln kind of runs more of a traditional air raid, right? So I think that's what you get out of both of these teams. This game is I wasn't sure if it was in Tallahassee or Clemson. This game is at Clemson. So, yeah, we're still going to stick with talking about Clemson first. And I don't know. There's just been some surprises with Clemson this year that I haven't anticipated. Their inability to run the ball at times I think is a little bit frustrating. Like I said, we talked about the air raid. We talked about the hybrid blending tempo that he likes to do. But there's just been games this year, like even the game that Cade Klubnik was out versus SMU. And we knew there would be naturally some struggles offensively for their team, but they really struggled there. Then you had the game this week, the offense that we've been waiting for with Clemson to be able to put up points and bunches on the board that have been, but your defense decided not to play this year. Clay Klubnik threw for 385 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. And if it was somebody I truly felt for a week ago, it was this past weekend, it was Cade. He's like, I only got a few games left here. It's like, damn. It really hit because you don't really think about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be getting ready for the NFL soon. And, you know, this is not the year he anticipated. I'm sure he anticipated, hey, man, we're going to win that Heisman. We're going to go to the playoffs, and we're going to win the whole damn thing. So their offense looked damn good last week. And then Adam Randall is their running back, 522 yards, 6 touchdowns on the season. But for me, I think you could have found better talent. No disrespect to Adam Randall, but I think you could have found better talent via the portal. And Brian Westco, I've been telling people time and time again, I thought he was the best receiver on this year, and I know Antonio Williams get a lot of love. Morris is cold as well, but I like Brian Westco. He does have 537 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. They're putting up 420 yards per game, but they are struggling to finish drives. And at times, they lack to have a solid identity. Now, let's talk about Florida State offensively. Gus Malzahn is their offensive coordinator. Outstanding offensive coordinator. I've seen him get really glitchy this year. It's that fast pace, run-heavy spread belt. We know that they want to go fast, but they're not afraid to run the ball as they go fast. And that's what I love about Gus Malzahn. Coordinated teams. They're going to go really fast, but they're going to run the ball. Thomas Castellanos got 1,800 yards on the season, 10 touchdowns, another 5 on the ground. Definitely dynamic, fearless. I think at times he's looked really good this year. There's other times where you see the 3 and out start to pile out, 4 and outs, 5 and outs, whatever you want to call it. They start piling out. I just think there's been times this year that they've left some meat on the bone, in all honesty. I look at Gavin Sawchuk. I look at the success that he's had this year, 432 yards, 8 touchdowns. I look at how he struggled in Lorraine last year. I don't know, makes me think a little bit. How you feeling about Gavin Sawchuk, Wes, if you're still in here? Deuce Robinson, 689 yards on the season. He's been electric at times this year. I think offensively they're averaging like 510 yards per game. Still putting up almost 40 points per game. And you just look at this team, and I think a lot of finger pointing starts going to Mike Norvell's way. Let's talk about the defense. Tony White defensive scheme, multiple 3-5. They will give you a 4-2-5 look as well. Hybrid pressures, those mug front simulated pressures, they're going to give you a lot of different looks defensively. They are exotic defensively. You can say the same thing about the offense. They're exotic offensively as well. They're allowing 316 yards per game. Second half, fatigue. I don't know if it's because the offense will move fast at times, even though they're up-tempo spread running type of team. I don't know. But you see in the second half, they kind of get burnt out a little bit. So we talked about the coordinators for both teams, talked about kind of what I expected from both of these teams, or what you can expect from both of these teams. Let's look at some of the advanced metrics. We got Florida State averaging 7.1 yards per play. Clemson's right at 6. I told you, 6.1, 6.2 is where you want to be at. Turnover margin, I feel like both of these teams are struggling there a little bit. Florida State is +2. At least they're over. And then Clemson is at -5. You're 3-5. You start to finger point while you're at 3-5. Here you go. Here's some of the reasons right here. -5 in the turnover margin. When you have the defense that you have, it's terrible. It's bad. 100% bad. It really is. I just don't get it. I thought Tom Allen would be the hire that this team needed defensively, and I'm not sure what's going on. And red zone efficiency, Florida State at about just under 90%, which is 34th in the country. Clemson defense allows 86.4%, just not what I expected. Third down conversion, FSU offensively is 53.2%, 6th in the country. Clemson's defense is terrible at 40.3 points per allowed. Florida State leads the country in total offense and are struggling. They're at 4-4 in the season. That is not good. So I think some of the things to watch is the time of possession. Who's going to win the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage for both of these teams? Can Florida State possess the ball and get hot early in this game? If it becomes a high-scoring contest, which I'm expecting, I think that favors Florida State. I really do, even though it's in Clemson. Clemson has played terribly at home. They've played absolutely horribly at home. I was there at the Syracuse game. Awful. Their crowd showed up. Their fan base showed up. And we got the same thing this past weekend. Just terrible. I would like to say Clemson wins this game as much as I want to. I think coming in here, I really want to say Clemson. But I think FSU needs this game more. Give me FSU to win this game in the shootout. What the score is, I don't know, probably like 42-35. It'll be an All-American shootout. So, fun show today. Always have fun with these things, man. Absolutely love this sport. Absolutely love talking about this sport. If you're still in here, we'll be live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be over there on East Coast Gridiron. Make sure you check them out on YouTube, Twitter. I'll be live with my boy Dante. We're going to talk some college football. I try to stay away from the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, so that's going to be really fun. Also, I'm drafting up an idea of a nightly show on CFB Nation. Me and Moon going to talk more about that. I'm going to talk with the gang about it as well to see if they'd be interested. and doing something with that's college football based, but with a little bit of satire. I think that'd be really cool. And so I always like to say there are no more victories in a sport that survive and advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. Until next time, we'll see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also tonight at 6 p.m. Don't forget about that. You all take care. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.